Welcome back to the Third Wheel Podcast. I'm Caleb.
I'm Shab.
All right, Shabs, my question for you today on this lovely Saturday morning, well, actually, now it's afternoon. How do you feel about flat earthers?
I know way too many of them
You actually know a bunch?
in real life.
Okay, so what are they like when you try to talk about this subject with them? Well, actually, I'm sorry. Are you a flat earther? Let me
I
just...
said I knew some.
Yeah. But
From the colony.
Okay. Are there a lot of them?
It's a colony, Caleb. It's a whole society we have to live by.
Well, there's the colony, which is like the colony,
Not
Texas.
not the colony. I'm talking about a colony.
Okay, so you know the whole colony?
No, I don't know the whole colony. No, I'm not a flat earther. I'm not a fake moon landing guy.
It sounds like you hang out with them, though.
Unfortunately,
You know-
they come to me.
You know a whole flock of them.
Well, because for whatever reason, I don't know why, but they're just like, and this seems like someone who I could convert, and I
Yeah.
hate that. So
Like they're coming to you trying to convert you.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. Here's the thing I've noticed about flat earthers. It's kind of like cultists where they don't admit they're in a cult.
Yeah.
Flat earthers, a lot of the people I know, they're not like this hardcore, like, I can prove it to you right now with science. It's more like, oh yeah, well, we don't really consider ourselves like total flat earthers, but it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
And I'm just like, the glass dome and everything. Like,
Total. Hold on, I'm sorry. Total flat earther, or are you just like using funny words, or do they actually like? Oh, we believe in a flat Earth, just not the
it's
whole.
kind of weird words that they use. It's so
Yeah.
weird terminology they use. Like they don't want to admit, like they're too ashamed of themselves to admit
Yeah.
what they really would believe. So they're always like on the fence, but in reality, once you believe in one crazy conspiracy theory, you sort of believe in them all. So it's
Right.
like it's hard to differentiate.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no problem saying it's a crazy conspiracy theory.
I
but,
agree.
but yeah, they're like this one person I know. He's like, yeah, I really, I'm not like a flat earther. Stop telling people that, but it makes a lot of sense. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like once you give like leeway to that, basically he's saying like it makes sense. You know what they believe, and he says actually it's very spiritual when you think about it. It's like.
I'm sorry.
What is going on? Basically, I think what he said was what they believe, and I don't believe this is true. But what he said, what most of them believe, is that the reason that the government doesn't want you to believe in the flat Earth is so that you would believe in God if it were the reality. You're more likely to believe in God if the Earth was flat, and the government doesn't want you to believe that. And I'm just, yeah.
But back in
Damn.
that's an interesting argument.
Mhm.
And I understand. I'm not arguing with you because you're not a flat earther. You're just telling me what you've heard.
Sure, yeah.
So when I come at
I'll
you,
play devil's advocate. Let's
it's
do
fine.
this.
But like I was gonna say, like I'm not coming at you, but I'm just responding to what you told me.
Yeah.
All right. You do realize that back in the day, people were told the Earth was flat, and that was the means of control.
Yeah.
Like the way people complain about the church and how it's to keep people in line. That's what flat Earth was for. So to sit here and say, well, the government wants us to think the world's round, so we don't believe in God.
Just the opposite.
Yeah, that's the opposite of why they made up the Earth was flat before.
Well, I mean, like, again, I just keep telling people it has to do with this rebellious spirit that everyone has.
Yeah.
We just want to be anti-government. We just want to be anti-authority. And deep down, even if you don't admit it, that's why, like, everyone was saying aliens were real for the longest time. But as soon as the government said that aliens are real, they're like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is a conspiracy theory. Like, they want you to believe aliens are real. Like, there's no pleasing the populace,
I agree. I watched this video where the flat earthers like on camera ruin their own argument, and so like there was the first one where they set up these like these walls and they were 17 feet apart or something, and they cut a hole through each one, perfectly spaced hole in between in all panels, and then they 17 feet, another panel, 17 feet, and so the theory was like as they go down, they're gonna flash a light through the hole, and the guy's gonna hold it 17 feet above the ground or whatever, however high the hole was.
Sure.
And so he said he's gonna hold it up 17 feet, and if the Earth is curved, you're not gonna be able to see the light. Right. But they said the Earth is flat, so he's gonna hold it up exactly 17 feet and turn the light on, and then it's gonna shine through all the holes just fine. So they go down to the they space out the panels, and then the guy holds it up 17 feet and he turns the light on, and there's no light coming through the holes. And they're like, hold on, are you sure you got it right? Yeah, I got it. It's 17 feet. And he's like, okay, well, try raising it all the way above your head. And then he finally raised it all the way up above the where they measured the hole to be, and then you could see the light coming through. And so then I watched another one where this guy, they bought this thing that measures. So the idea of the Earth being round is it rotates 360 degrees. That's a whole day, right?
Yeah.
One day, 360-degree rotation. So they bought something.
And apparently, I think they also think that the Earth is orbiting like the center of the universe,
Right.
And the sun like orbits around the Earth.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were saying like, well, if the Earth is flat, it's not rotating. So they bought something that measures the rotation of the Earth, right? And so there was like $20,000 they invested in this thing, and they placed it down, and it says, so if it rotates 360 degrees, and that's one day, it's 24 hours. It should measure 15 degrees every hour, right? So then they put it down, and then they came back after an hour, and it rotated. It said that the rotation was 15 degrees, and so they're like, oh shoot. We're like, well, that's problematic. So what it is, it's the heaven rays beating down on this machine, so that's what's causing it to whack off, knock the measurements out of whack. So then they're like, okay, I got it. We're gonna put it in like a metal tube. We're gonna seal it up. That there's no heaven rays. The wind's not gonna do it, and the thing still it's a high tech piece of equipment. It measured, and so another 15 degrees, and so they're like, shoot, and then so they disproved themselves.
I mean, another recent example on a bigger scale is when Japan invaded America. I mean, they flew over the Pacific. It's like they didn't go all the way around the globe. They would like not enough fuel to do that. They went the other direction. But again, people deny the Holocaust even happening. That's another conspiracy theory. It's like
let's not do that.
I think the most politically charged one is global warming, and I'll be honest about global warming. I think I told you this before. I'm like, I don't know. It could be real, could be not. I don't really care either way. Honestly, it is what it is. Like, there's not enough evidence, I think, to fully support it, but also not nearly enough evidence to fully debunk it either. It's kind of just a weird in between.
You're talking about the flat Earth. There's not enough evidence to debunk it.
No, I'm talking about global warming.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Flat Earth. Yeah, I'm like, there's a pretty cold shut in case.
Do you personally believe in global warming? I got one more story for the flat Earth part, but I'm kind of curious.
No, like I said, on a personal level, again, because it's so politically charged, I feel like it's not real because it's always used as like something to push agendas.
For sure.
And it is still technically a theory. You can look that part up. However, I don't want to be ignorant enough to say that it's definitely not real because I don't know the science, like enough science behind it.
Sure.
So like, if someone proved to me like in front of me that it's real, it's like, hey, I can't really deny it. Like it makes sense. But also like no one's ever proved that it is real or not real. So I'm just like anything that again that's so correlated with like politics, I'm always kind of like skeptical.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah,
and
both parties use it. So
yeah, I will say like pollution changing the world's atmosphere makes sense.
Sure.
But if that's the case, okay, I'm just going to be real with you.
Yeah.
America is such a small part of contributing to global warming.
Right.
Believe it or not, let's say it's real, 100%. America is not the biggest contributor to it. China and India outpollute us by like a massive number, like 80%. You know what I mean? Like America going fully green makes up like 15% of global warming. You know what I mean? Exactly. So it's not... real or not, like if it's real and we're screwed in 100 years, like there's nothing we can do about it.
Sure.
You can take your recycling out. You can do all this other stuff. You can do what you want. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that let's just give up and put our trash on the ground. Let's all turn on our computers and start mining crypto. Like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking like, do your part, to keep our place clean and to keep our environments clean, keep our air clean, stuff like that. Let's do our part. But you gotta convince the rest of the world. The rest of the world's what's going to pollute the planet.
On a spiritual level, I do believe that God created a world that could not be destroyed by humans alone.
Right.
So that's another thing.
Yeah.
But I'm from a secular, just like objective point of view, that's mine. But like also
I agree with that
spiritual background as well.
For sure.
So it's kind of that's why also another reason I don't want to argue about it because it's like I have completely different worldviews. Because of that alone, just by itself. So. Yes, if we're talking secularly, just like objectively, that would be my point of view. Just like it could be, could not be.
Sure. I was gonna say, like, if the Earth's gonna end, it's gonna end. You know what I mean? Like, whatever
exactly.
God's plan is for how. I mean, Revelation talks about a total destruction and weird locust people running around. You know what I mean? Like,
Dude, yeah.
what does that global warming got to do with that? I'm sorry. You know. So whatever.
But you had one more thing about flat earthers, right?
Yeah. So I watched this news thing where this guy, I think his name was like Mad Hugh Mike, you know, something like that, something crazy.
Yeah.
And he's one of those. He had a lot of money sitting around, so he's like, I'm a build a rocket and fly it to space. It was like made of plastic. It was like stuff he found in his garage.
Sure.
Well, his first launch, he survived.
Yeah.
Okay, like it just shot up, then went back down, and then the news footage is carrying him out, you know, in a stretcher.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the ambulance shows up and they carry him away. He's like, I'm gonna fly again. He's old, you know, and he's going to the hospital. I guess he was fine.
Yeah.
So in his interview, it was like a 30-second clip. It was funny. So then he's like, you know, look, guys, if the Earth is round, when I get up there, I'm gonna tell you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if it's round, like, I just want to know. I just want to know the truth. And I was like, you know what, Mike, you're right. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to be a pioneer.
Can't fault you for wanting to trust things with your own eyes.
Yeah, so he builds another rocket, and he does not survive the janky rocket he welded together.
No, it's because they sent stealth fighters to intercept his rocket before he could tell the truth. That's what another thing. It's like, with how many people are in the government, quote unquote, it's like there would be so many whistleblowers, you know, and so many leaks. Yeah, have you seen that new episode of Smiling Friends in season 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. At the very end. Where
I was going to cap the conversation off with that, with like, they come back from their space mission.
Right.
Yeah, they got kidnapped by aliens, and they hijack the ship, and they fly back to Earth, and they get there, and the Earth's flat, and they're like, oh my God, there's the dome.
They're like, we can't tell anyone this. We can't tell this.
And honestly, bro, if we were in that same position, I'd be like, we can't say a word.
Right.
Because, you know, if the Earth is actually flat and we found out the truth, like, we're next on FBI's most wanted list. So you better, like.
Oh, that was so funny.
I mean, yeah. So
now,
nobody believe us, though.
Moon landing.
You know, I haven't done enough research on it. I watched an interview with Joe Rogan and Adam Conover, and I like. Do you know about that interview?
No.
Adam Conover is trying to argue trans rights, which we're not going to get into. But Adam Conover had no facts, and of course, Joe Rogan, being a big sports fan and commentator, was like, "Bro, like, you know, there's no room for trans people in sport." You know what I mean? So, but then. There was a point Adam kept bringing up stuff that he thought was like, you know, Joe's not going to argue this. It's like, you know, the Earth moon landing totally not fake, you know, and then Joe was like, oh, I don't know about that, and I was like, oh, I shouldn't have brought this up, you know, because they kept arguing over nothing. So so I don't know. I haven't done enough research. Joe Rogan actually thinks he's seen enough to where it's like maybe it could have been like faked, you know.
Interesting. I will always argue that it was real, only because I feel like almost on like a societal level, it's just like there could be so much breakdown if we just start questioning every part of history.
For sure.
And it gets like, the weird thing is like the threshold is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Like moon landing was not even 100 years ago, and people were like, it was absolutely fake. I'm like, I'm thinking about all the people who worked, you know, tirelessly all hours of the week, of the year, to make sure that happened, you know? Like, thinking back, you know, like the people who looked at the stars and said, one day we're going to go there, and end up doing it, you know? The only reason it's controversial is because people are like, well, in that time they didn't have the technology. It's or they say, well, it was an arms race with Russia, you know? Like, that's the reason they...
it was an arms race with the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, exactly.
America wanted to be the first ones to produce one. You know what I mean? And China, in America, and some other countries. I don't know which ones off the top of my head, but it was an arms race.
There was a lot of money for whoever.
It was an arms race to get the COVID vaccine done. So continue.
But it's hard for me. Like, so that's the only theory I think that has actual water. That, like, there are some not facts, but like there are some points that people make that's like, okay, it's hard to argue that. Yeah. So the whole moon landing thing, I think it was real, but it is kind of like a 50-50. There's no real way to prove one way or the other, because like it hasn't happened yet. It's like, I don't think we're ever going to figure out 100% what truly happened, but I'm a believer that it did.
Yeah. Well, Adam Conover's point was he's for the moon landing did happen. Yeah. And he argues that the technology did not exist to fake the moon landing. So he's saying what would it, the resources would have taken, the technology would have taken to make it look dang good, like we faked the moon landing, was not a thing at the time.
Yeah, it's the thing. People will bring up how, oh my gosh, it would, like, can you believe, like, TV reception? Like, there's no way it could have been beamed from the moon. But I'm like, but could they have beamed a signal from one station to the whole Earth? Like, that's the same argument, just different ways. You know, like, I'm more inclined to believe that one static signal on itself could actually travel through space. You know, like, so yeah, there's really no like solid shut in case way to argue. The only thing I did see, and I have to watch it again, there was a video of a film director who actually looked over the footage, and he said, I am not a scientist, not a rocket scientist. I'm not any kind of, professional in that area. But as a film director, here's why the moon landing was real. He says, because there are some things you just could not replicate in film.
Right.
For what they did.
Especially back then.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that. So it's good thing you brought that up, because I'm like, so there is like, again, I think there's no way to say 100% definitively one way or the other, but it just comes down to personal preference, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's always going to be conspiracies. You're going to have those people that just want to believe everything's a lie. The government is blah, blah, blah. But there's a really good South Park episode where they talk about 9/11, and they talk about, have you seen that one? The conspiracy? It's great because at the end they conclude George Bush kidnaps the kids, and he's like, 9/11 was an inside job, and they're like, but... So they force that on him. Bush does his evil rant. And he's like, it was an inside job. And then he's like, now, and then Bush lets him escape, right? And then he accidentally gives them the evidence that not the government did 9/11. Right. But it turns out the government wants you to believe that the government has that much power. So that's why Bush is like, yeah, here's our evil plan for how we fake 9/11 and we blah blah blah. And then they find out that Bush was lying. Like, why'd you lie? It's like, well, if the people believe the government has that much power, then we hold all the power, And so,
that's so funny.
Yeah. I was like, and that's true. He's like, And so
that's amazing.
I don't know. Like, what does the government have to gain by the Earth being flat? And hiding that from the public. Right. It's like you said that there'd be so many whistleblowers. Like the Edward Snowden, like real news, the government spying on you. And of course my parents were shocked, which me being 17 or 16 at the time, I was like, really? That shocks you, Mom and Dad, that the government was spying on us? You really thought they were honoring our privacy. Right. You think they care? Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, he couldn't keep that a secret, and he let that and he released it to the public. The Earth being flat, that is mind-melting, mind-breaking stuff.
Not just America. Every government in the world. Yeah. Every government power in the world.
Yeah, you're right.
Collectively decided, we're not going to share this.
You're telling me sleepy Joe Biden, warmongering Putin. You know what I mean? And whoever what's the title of rank in China? Like what is it? Emperor? Not emperor. I'm sorry.
No, honestly, it might be... not prime minister.
Something it's something weird like that though, where it's so they all get together once a year. They get on a Zoom call and they say, "All right, guys, did anyone leak that the Earth's flat?"
It's like, no, and then
Kim Jong-un's in on it. He hops on the Zoom call.
One of them's on the moon.
Yeah.
No, nothing up here.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me. So that lasted almost 20 minutes. That's pretty good.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I just don't. The Earth being flat just doesn't make sense to me.
Also, I'm just like, okay, there are so many things that all governments are so inefficient with. Like, there's so many world problems right now, conflicts that just like are not solvable with today's technology or just like with our political climate. However, the one thing that they're 100% efficient in is covering up the
flat
Earth being flat. Yeah. It's like, I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
The fact that you think the government's smart enough to hide anything, and there's a case to be made about certain historical events being bent, certain facts getting lost over time.
Sure.
Like there's something to be said about like certain people dying that knew the full truth, and then the official government statement, the official history books. There's probably a little bit of stuff that was bent a certain direction.
There are just some things that can be honestly, and it's so hard to swallow the pill, explained by simple circumstance. Like, I mean, we talked about Trump's assassination attempt, like how everyone wants to make it like this big conspiracy, but in reality, it could have just been such a drop of the hat, from like just everyone involved. Like, did you see that video of freaking Secret Service agents taking a dump in like this. I think it was a jewelry shop or something. They broke in. So there was a Kamala Harris event, like a rally or something, and Secret Service members, like this lady, I wanted to go to the bathroom,
I did
so she broke into a a private store, and then I think two more agents came in or something and did the same thing. It's like, well, something's going on with Secret Service right now. I think they're just I think they just need to be reformatted.
Yeah, there's something up with that, like you said. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird time in history right this second. I don't know how this election is going to go. I'm curious from a normal, unbiased standpoint. I'm really kind of curious to see these debates coming up.
I actually am kind of confident in my prediction.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't even know what your prediction is. You care to share it with the rest of the class? Or
I think Kamala's going to win.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Now it's not like 100%. Actually, I have no real evidence to back this up, other than I think that is the change that the left needed, honestly, to unite again.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to fight really, 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 really hard, probably harder than Trump's fighting right now.
Yeah.
Because Trump's had it easy this whole time, pretty much.
And I'm told his strategy right now to attack Kamala is not really that good.
Yeah.
You know?
I think Kamala's been preparing for it for a lot longer than Trump has. He kind of thought it was going to be super easy.
Yeah.
I don't think the assassination attempt was enough. If history shows...
That's interesting, because a couple weeks ago you were kind of saying the opposite.
Well, if it was Joe, yes. That is a drop in the bucket. But if history shows, then again, bringing it up, Teddy Roosevelt, how he was shot during his speech when he was trying to get reelected, and he didn't get reelected.
Sure.
So it's yeah.
He didn't have a cool picture, though.
That's true. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good fight. I don't think it's going to be a landslide by any means, but I think Kamala might actually come out on top.
Okay, hey, that's fair. I mean, I don't trust polls. I don't trust the media, because during the Hillary Trump election, they want you to watch the news. The only way to do that is to be like, it's neck and neck. Keep up with us for live update. And every day is a new poll. It's neck and neck. And I don't know. And I'm with you. If they kept Biden, it would have been over.
It's dangerous. Now, the thing is, though, she's at a massive disadvantage because she's getting it so late.
Yeah.
But I think, again, her team, has been ready for this. They were anticipating Joe dropping. So I don't think it was by surprise. It didn't catch her by surprise. She's been planning this for a long time. So
these debates are going to be really big on swing voters.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? This is good,
because there's so many people who voted Trump just so they didn't have to vote for Biden. Now that there is an alternative option, yeah.
And honestly, he really needs to bring his A game. He can't just be spouting off baseless insults like he could with Joe, because Joe couldn't keep up.
Right.
You know what I mean? At one point they started arguing about golf. You know. And so he's going to have to change up his strategy. The thing is, he needs to hire people that can dig up some good dirt.
Oh yeah,
because she's not a good. I've seen her debate. She's not the best. She's not. When Tulsi Gabbard hit her with those heavy facts about her career as her history as a DA.
Yeah, I actually did watch a whole video about her history, her upbringing with political parties. You could punch really hard, if you aim correctly, but
she's not a great debater. When you hit her with real facts, because a lot of the Democratic debates, they didn't discuss anything worth talking about, so those were easy for her to contribute to a conversation, not so much a debate. But when she got hit with hard stuff of her failures and her shady behavior, she had no response.
Right.
And so she's not, and she has a lot of speech, I'm not gonna say impediments, but she has some things that kind of hold her back from being a good speaker. So I don't know. We'll see.
Not the classiest speaker.
No, definitely not.
She can keep a smile, that's for sure.
She sure can. So. But it's going to be different when you're debating somebody who's also going to be bringing their A game, and he's dedicated to winning. And I'm sure she is too.
Yeah.
But we'll just see who wants it more, and then it's up to the people. So I am really curious.
A couple months away.
I know. Ooh, it's so nerve wracking. I'm oh my gosh. It feels like the past couple of years we've been alternating pretty good. Democrat, Republican, just flip flopping.
Sure.
So
keep the cycle.
Keep the cycle going. So, all right, the agenda for today, I got it.
So, I actually just recently watched almost all the X-Men movies for the first time.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about that now.
Yeah. I watched the first one all the way up to Future Past.
So what got you interested in that?
I think probably the Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
They're movies I always was interested in because I'm like, you know what? I've never watched them. I've only the only first one I watched was the third one. It was the first one I watched because it was on TV. And I didn't know what was going on.
That sucks.
Yeah, no. But then, like, I just never took interest in it. And everyone's always like, those movies are great, you know, like most of them at least. So I was like, okay, like I'm gonna set some time apart. I saw they were all on Disney Plus, I think. So I was like, okay, let's just start, see where they go. And I thoroughly enjoyed probably majority of them.
Oh yeah,
like a lot. Like I actually really could see myself watching these again. Like I wish I would have watched them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, like just really enjoyed them.
Yeah. So okay, let's go. Let's
one
go.
by one.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay. So
okay.
The first one is probably like honestly my least favorite.
Okay. Really? So did you watch the third one again?
Yes, I did.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go with you on that. The third one was my first one as well.
Of the trilogy, I'll say probably the first one was my least favorite. Like I'm not gonna watch that one again. It seemed like it was a good introduction, I think.
Yeah.
But them trying to kind of like find their footing, you know?
Yeah.
It's a little awkward.
Not to mention, did it come out before Spider-Man?
I don't think so. I feel like Spider-Man would have given way for all those movies to be made.
Yeah, I was going to say.
People weren't really taking superheroes seriously until Spider-Man came out.
So X1, I'm sorry. I just want to, before
I'm almost certain Spider-Man came out before
I think you're
X1.
right, but let me just look here. Came out in 2001, right? Right?
Yeah.
Or 2002. 2002 Spider-Man, and then so X-Men 1. This is gonna be crazy. Let's see. Bryan Singer, 2000. So yeah, it came out a year before Spider-Man.
Wow, that's interesting.
X-Men 1 had almost nothing to go off of.
Yes.
Because Spider-Man
That's crazy.
is what influenced all the copycats. Because Spider-Man didn't copy X-Men 1 at all.
Made stupid money.
Yeah,
so it's like
yeah. And so then that's when you had Daredevil come out. That's when you had Elektra. You had, I think Blade came out before all of them.
It did.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you just had all these ripoffs of Spider-Man. But X1 had nothing to go off of. It was its own thing. Right. So Bryan Singer, unfortunately, turned out to be a horrible harasser.
And after Batman and Robin, superhero movies just like did not make any money. Like people didn't want to touch him for the longest time.
Yeah.
So for X1 to come out, like that's interesting. And actually, it's interesting that it came out before Spider-Man because it feels like something that came out in that era after that. But yeah, again, it's a little awkward still. Some of the effects actually hold up interestingly enough, but it's still like, yeah.
Some parts don't, like Senator Kelly. Was that Senator Kelly when he just melts? Like that looked like crap.
That's a little weird.
And then you got some parts where Wolverine, he's like sliding on the Statue of Liberty.
Mystique looks super weird.
Yeah.
Mystique looks super weird.
Yeah.
And I love how like she wasn't like I guess she became a fan favorite character. I don't know when because she wasn't really interesting until
First Class. You said Mystique, right?
Mystique, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when they recast her, they gave her the origin story, and then she grew up with Professor X. That. Oh yeah, way more interesting. Yeah.
So X2 is probably my favorite.
Oh yeah,
I really really liked X2.
Yeah.
Just so many characters, and Nightcrawler's always been my favorite. Whenever I've just like seen from a distance, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see, I've watched so many of them, so I'm like trying to remember exactly what
X2 is Wolverine's origin essentially.
They hint at his origin. They basically say, "Oh, you don't remember."
All right, so X2, it's like the origin of Wolverine. They go
into the origin of Wolverine,
but no flashbacks. That's another thing, right? No flashbacks really. They do like weird clips where the strobe lights.
They do like
flashing.
that weird Saw thing where it's like, and then it's like nothing else.
Right.
Let's see. They also had Jean dies at the end.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Quote unquote.
I forgot about
dies
that
at the end, which was interesting. I didn't really connect with Jean that much.
Nobody does.
The characters, I don't think, besides like Xavier and Magneto and Wolverine, I don't think I really connected with any of the characters.
Yeah.
Because like I don't really like what they did with Rogue. I don't think many people do because they made her like a teenager instead of like an adult that can contribute.
Well, at least in the first one, she has something to do.
Correct.
And then the second
one, she basically they just kind of. And even in the third one, even though she has like one of the most interesting like exploitable powers, because like Magneto tries to exploit her in the first one, she just is chalked up to like high school drama. Like that's all her character really becomes. She doesn't actually go out on missions really or anything, which is kind of disappointing because I think Rogue's really cool.
Because in the third one too, I haven't seen the third one actually since it came out.
Oh wow!
But it's basically nothing, right? She barely contributes at all.
Well, even less so, yeah. Because so in the third one, I actually am going to say I didn't hate that much, maybe because it was nostalgic, but yeah, I had no reason to hate the third one. I think Phoenix was a cool concept. It is, and I think it's probably people's like favorite story arc or whatever.
In the comics, yeah. Or even the cartoon, I'm told, actually did that arc pretty well. The Phoenix Saga.
Yeah.
Have you seen the cartoon?
I'm watching it now, actually.
Okay, cool. I need to watch that, actually.
They kill Cyclops really close, or really early on. Like,
let's go back to the second movie first. Okay, so second movie, it's got Nightcrawler, Wolverine's origin. The guy that plays General Riker, really cool. Like he's a good
really
actor.
Cool intro because Nightcrawler assaults the White House, and it's like a really cool just like set piece basically. I think it's really cool at the very end when they Professor Xavier freezes the White House Oval Office, and then they just appear with a flash of lightning, and they're basically like, "Oh, we'll be watching." Doesn't really play in the third one that much, but it's just like good overall stuff. Probably the most enjoyable of the trilogy.
And of course, it introduces for this movie, it's fine.
Sure.
But every other movie has this problem because they keep trying to do it.
Yeah.
Where it's got Wolverine, you're an exception. You're my first creation. You're the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So this time I perfected my work. You're X-22 or whatever. Or is it X-21? I can't remember. I'm sorry.
X-21 probably.
Okay. You're actually, I think it's Weapon X. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, he's like, look, you're this model, but now I've perfected my work. Say hello to Weapon 11, and then here comes the Wolverine knockoff.
Right.
Like, well, now they can compete with Wolverine because they have claws. So this is where this one's a girl.
Yeah.
And
they have one fight, I think.
Yeah. There's one fight, and he beats her. I don't remember how he does it, but he beats her. Okay, cool. Like, hi, you can't. There's only one. There's only one me, bub.
Right.
But
there's like 20 other people.
So I'm sure you haven't read a lot of Wolverine comics, but I'm assuming that that Hugh Jackman, who's great in the role, he's not comic accurate because he's not tiny. He doesn't stink. He's actually like well groomed. He's taller than a bunch of people.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So so they make fun of it in Deadpool. If you remember, like, oh, it's comic accurate Wolverine. He's like this big. He's like,
gotcha.
Who's asking? And he's like this short. It's like, oh, it's comic accurate Wolverine.
That's funny.
So that was a criticism with Hugh Jackman, of course. People that complain, this is a side note, people that complain that, this isn't like the comics.
Yeah.
I would argue those people don't actually read comics. They read a Reddit post by somebody who does
some synopsis video.
Yeah.
And like, oh my gosh,
yeah. And so at the time, actually before all that existed, at the time, there were some complaints about Hugh Jackman. He doesn't quite fit the comic version.
Sure.
But eventually he made the role his own.
Yeah,
and of course he was the most popular character in the movie. So then we move on to X3, which was pretty bad.
So X2 basically expanded the story. It was bigger than the first one.
Yeah.
Characters were a little bit more fleshed out.
Pyro. Do you recognize Pyro from...
Do I recognize Pyro?
Yeah, the fire guy.
I mean, I know who Pyro is, but I don't know if I recognize him.
Well, in Deadpool and Wolverine, he's in that. Same actor, except he's old.
Interesting,
yeah.
Okay.
So you remember he's the guy that sucks the fire out of...
That's right, okay.
Human Torch. That's him, same guy.
Oh, cool.
And that's the character he's playing.
Was that the same Sabretooth actor?
I believe so, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Sabretooth was interesting too. There's one scene in the first one. It was really funny. It's when like the senator escapes. It was basically like Magneto just being incompetent. Like he's in a jail cell.
Yeah.
And then the guy falls off the cliff. And then like to punish Sabretooth, Magneto just locks him in a cage. But then in the next scene, he's out of the cage.
Yeah.
So it's like
yeah. Quick question. Did you rewatch Xmen Origins?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
My first time watching it, actually.
Perfect. All
so,
right.
okay,
So we'll get to that.
X3.
Yeah.
I still like it.
Yeah.
I thought the battles were really cool. They're really big. Magneto goes to town. Like, I know everyone hates on X3, but I think that was like the big showcase for Magneto's powers and his abilities. Like just wrecking the bridge, for instance, or just like
the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, breaking out Juggernaut. Like all that was cool stuff.
All the bad guys or all the soldiers had to change they had to take out the metal from their guns.
Plastic. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, he's threatening. Charles always wanted to burn bridge, something like that.
Yeah. Mystique. That was a cool scene. Sorry, that was a cool line. Mystique gets shot by the XX gun, I guess.
Yeah.
And Magneto's like throws his hands up. Oh well.
Yeah. I'm sorry, my dear. You're not one of us anymore. Played by Gandalf, by the way, fantastically. Oh my gosh, so good.
Such a good line. But yeah, X3 was great. I still like it. Don't care what everyone says.
You know what though? At the time X3 was the conclusion of the trilogy. Yeah. Okay, and for a conclusion of the trilogy where you think you're not going to get another one of these,
it's a little off.
Can be disappointing. You'd say a little off. Upon revisiting, it's not the worst comic book movie ever made, I will say. But at the time, it was like, and because there wasn't a lot to go off of. We didn't have these. The Marvels wasn't out back then. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I could see that because I'm watching it from the perspective that all these movies are out. So this is just like another blip in the book. But
yeah, when you put it up to the Marvels, when you put it up to all these other films, it's actually not the worst thing ever.
No, it's enjoyable. Like there's plenty of great scenes in it.
It is a muddled mess with like, okay, we're doing the Phoenix Saga, but we're also concluding the Magneto storyline,
which was kind of a disappointment because all he does is kind of like run off and then like nothing actually happens.
So another thing is Cyclops died off screen. And it's just like they show up and they're like, "Oh, Scott's dead," and then they just move on. You know what I mean?
Wolverine's like, "Well, more room for me."
Yeah, whatever. Then the stupid side plot where he's in love with Jean Grey, like,
it was very forced.
Yeah,
the whole trilogy pushed that really hard. It started in the first one,
and that's the thing. Jean Grey's not a very compelling character.
No, Rogue was more interesting. Honestly, if they would have grown Rogue up more, I think that would have been more interesting with Wolverine.
Is Kitty Pryde in those? In the movies?
I don't think she is.
You know she is.
I only recognized her in Future Past.
Right. So Kitty Pryde, interestingly enough.
Oh no, she is. When the SWAT guys are attacking the school, she does like go through walls. Or something.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, and she's in the third one too. Yeah, he's fighting Juggernaut. Okay, so in the comics, they killed off Jean Grey through the Phoenix Saga, and that's when they introduced Kitty Pryde. Okay, and she's way better, and she's not like she doesn't, as far as I know, she doesn't romance Scott. It wasn't a replacement for the love interest. Sure, but they introduced the character, and she was good. But Jean Grey's always been lacking. You know, she's not a very strong character. So anyway, so X3, it's a mixed bag. Sure, but upon hindsight, it's not the worst comic book movie ever made.
You should rewatch it.
I probably would.
Again, I actually really enjoyed it.
We should see. I want to do movie commentary, and I really think we don't need any footage. We just need to watch a movie and then just comment on it as it's playing. You know, so
gonna again kind of speed run this. Xmen Origins. I think that was the next one.
Yep.
That came out.
So we hit the next hurdle. Again, they start doing this problem that the Wolverine movies have. At the end of the movie, General Riker, same exact plan. Yeah. One General Riker's recast. He looks nothing like the first guy.
Right, yeah.
And so he says...
Which we used to do that back then. Nowadays, it's unheard of to recast people, but like back then, all the time it got recast.
Yeah, all the time. So at the end of the movie, General Riker's like, haha, Wolverine, you're the first, you're Weapon X. But let me introduce you to Weapon 11, XI. Yeah. And it's, of course... That's the movie that introduces Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. The scenes where it is Deadpool, it's great. Yeah. His mouth's unsewn, and he's funny, and he's like got the personality. And Ryan Reynolds, he wanted to do a Deadpool movie back then, but studio wouldn't let him.
He always said he would find a way to shut you up.
Yeah, yeah. And then Sabretooth and Wolverine are brothers. Of course, they didn't bring that up in the first two.
I want to bring that. Okay, so I want to get into this.
Yeah.
They very subtly try to sort of retcon the trilogy. Like as the movies go on, they just slowly kind of retcon everything about the trilogy. So again, this is me coming in. I knew Origins was the least favorite one. I knew this was the hated one, but I was like, I'm going to watch it anyway, right?
Yeah.
I actually didn't hate the first part where this shows Wolverine and Sabretooth going through like all the battles and wars.
Yeah,
like
that was cool.
That's cool stuff. I'm like, okay, showing them as brothers, like that's interesting. Like
you see Sabretooth slowly get more violent as the wars go on.
I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. Like that's a cool character arc. And like the fact that they even like when Sabretooth would go a little crazy, Wolverine stood by his side, you know, back to back. Like it was cool stuff. I'm like, okay, I can see this happening. It has nothing to do with the original Sabretooth.
Sure.
But that's fine. Like I want this to be more fleshed out, right? So I liked it all the way up until the point, even Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, mouth unsewn Ryan Reynolds was great.
Yeah.
So like even some of the comedy worked, you know, like I was getting into it. I think where it started to fall apart probably was when there was a lot of time dedicated to him being a lumberjack. Now that I remember it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a
crappy love story.
That was a long set piece.
Yeah.
And then we all know what's going to happen. Then there's this weird twist where his wife is like undercover agent or something. Of some stupid organization. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the plot kind of lost me. I think there were some parts that were kind of fun, like his pointless boxing match with the Blob.
Yeah, or so the visual effects in the movie were bad.
Oh yeah,
so the CGI claws, and of course they had to have a scene where Wolverine's like, you know, and you get the zoomed in on them, and
they're like wiggly.
Yes, and they look terrible. All right, and then you got the scene where the ladder's coming at him instead of you know, people made fun of Prometheus for the girl running away from the rolling thing, you know, and running in a straight line away from it.
He's cutting down the ladder.
Yeah,
looks
so
like a video game cutscene.
Yeah, so like the in Prometheus, she's running away from the rolling ship, and it's like, oh, just move to the right, and you're fine. Right. It's moving in a straight line. Well, in this one, instead of moving out the way of the ladder, he expends so much energy. Ching, 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 ching.
And it cuts to it like 3 different times.
Yeah.
And then like Gambit's up there, like, oh, I don't wonder what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Gambit getting shoehorned was kind of funny because like he fought Wolverine for literally no reason. There was no reason. It just so Sabretooth could get away.
Yeah. So.
But again, it was one of those things like I probably won't watch it again, but there were some fun things like I'm glad I got to see. Like I would say probably the first 20 minutes or so were probably the best part of the film. Just watch that and then move on.
Yeah.
Because then Deadpool shows up, kind of quote unquote Deadpool shows up. If it wasn't Deadpool, it would be kind of an intimidating looking villain. But like he was kind of cool, like the way, like his powers, the way they worked, you know, and something about like silent villains is really cool. But it's funny how like every time he did something cool, it cut back to Stryker typing it on a computer, like commands to give him. Like it's really wonky.
It's so bad.
And it ended. Apparently, they were going to do a whole bunch of origin movies. Like
Magneto was up next. Yep.
And then they're like, this isn't gonna make make money. So
Origins was so bad they canceled all that crap.
Yeah. So I'm actually shocked that they didn't like cancel the whole series altogether. I guess it was a while before First Class came out because that was the next one, I think. Yep. And
X-Men Origins kind of killed it.
Shock. First Class, the best one. It's definitely my favorite.
That was such a good movie.
Like
my problem was when it came out, I saw it. My dad took me to the theater 8 times to watch it, and I just got so sick of it. If I were to watch it again now, I'd be like, "This is a good movie." You know,
I actually was more interested in that before I even watched the series. I was like, I just want to watch that one because it looks really cool.
It's a good movie.
I love the people that got to play Magneto and Xavier, and Jennifer Garner. I think that was that one of her first like big roles? Probably. I don't know if it was
Garner. You mean Jennifer Lawrence?
Sorry, Jennifer Lawrence.
Good. Yeah. I will say that's where I know her from. If you were to say, well, okay, no,
that was Hunger Games.
I think did Hunger Games come out first?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I feel like it did.
Me too. Let me look. Sorry, First Class.
Because she looks the exact same. So
right. So let me see. Hunger Games 1. Not to be confused with the parody movie Starving Games. Oof. Hunger Games 2012, and then X-Men First Class 2011. Okay, First Class was her first role before she even got Hunger Games.
Big role, all right.
Now, big role. I'm sure she was in Broadway.
She stole the show in First Class, so they're probably give her a trilogy.
Yeah, and you can tell as the movies go on, you haven't gotten Apocalypse yet, right?
No, that's my next one.
Okay, so you haven't gotten Apocalypse or the very last one,
Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix.
And I know those are...
So periodically, she didn't want to do the costume anymore. So that's why for each movie, she's in the costume less and less. So the first couple movies before she was a big star, she was like, you know, hey, she's learning how to be comfortable with herself. So she turns into her regular form, but then she learns to be cool and turn blue, right? Mm-hmm. Then you get to Days of Future Past. They kind of reset her character development there, where she's human, but she learns to be herself and to be a mutant. But then as the movies go on, she's in her human form a lot.
That's really funny because like like you said, her whole character arc is becoming comfortable with herself.
Yeah.
I even like how they made Beast kind of a jerk at one point. He's like, oh, gross, blue, disgusting.
Yeah. So,
but no, I think Magneto's my favorite character. Just like or young Magneto, just great role. You know, he definitely plays like. I love how he's definitely like a hero, but he's straddling on the line because he's willing to just like go super brutal, and because it's like the time he grew up in. Like, I love how he kept the bullet with him the entire time. It's like, dude, they take so much advantage of his powers. It's so crazy, you know, what they do. I love the scene where he's like torturing a guy who has metal in his tooth. Like, that's so sick but awesome, you know. Like, I just want a whole movie dedicated to him. We should do an origin story, but good stuff. I was like, I didn't know how that tied into the rest of the films, and I was a little worried about that. And honestly, I will say, after watching Future Past, I'm a little disappointed with it. It's
really
a little weird.
I liked it as much as X2, if not better.
No, so I like Future Past fine. I don't like how it tied into the trilogy.
Okay.
I feel like they were set up to do a full reboot at that point, and they didn't do it. Oh, actually, I forgot the Wolverine.
The Wolverine. Did you watch that?
I did watch that.
Okay, good movie.
Good movie,
hands down.
Except for the very end,
right? Which
I think that was a stupid twist.
Everyone agrees with the big CGI Silver Samurai he fights at the end.
That was just such a dumb. Like, I could actually see it coming. It was such a bad twist. I'm like.
And actually, they changed the origin of Silver Samurai, so it's supposed to be her dad. And they tease it where he's the Silver Samurai, the dad's the bad guy.
Right.
He has the armor in his closet or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like that. So in the comics, he's the Silver Samurai. And it's her dad trying to take down her and Wolverine. They retconned it for the movie, which is fine. You know, like it's not you know, again, I'm not one of those guys who reads a Reddit thread and like, that's supposed to be her dad. You know, that's why this movie's terrible.
Right.
You know, but no. So Grandpa comes back and they have a big CGI fight. Yes, that's the worst part of the movie. Before that, though, when they slowed down his healing factor and he's like, you know, who are you? I'm the Wolverine.
It actually added stakes to it, which is really cool.
Yeah,
because usually it just goes through everything. Freaking the whole movie taking place in like Tokyo. That was really cool.
It was great.
Yakuza stuff. Like, I love that.
The opening scene where he's like the bear man, where he's like, in the he fights the hillbillies.
That's cool.
That should have been. I would have loved a whole movie like that. That's what Origins tried to do, and that's why you said the lumberjack scene was going on too long.
Yes.
but the Wolverine took that scene and made it better. Where he's an outcast, and he can't fit in with society.
He's basically an animal. Like, I like that.
Oh yeah. So, So Wolverine, fantastic film. But did you watch Logan?
No, because I'm watching them in order, so that comes after
Days of Future Past, and actually it comes after Apocalypse.
So after Apocalypse, I will watch Logan. Days of Future Past, though.
You watched Logan when it came out, right?
No, I didn't.
Really?
No,
you haven't seen it, period?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy to me. Okay, you're in for a treat, buddy.
I can't wait. But Days of Future Past, I really like the film. Again, wasn't super crazy about the time travel stuff. Maybe because I'm still sick of the multiverse stuff. Yeah. It's not the same thing, but it kind of is.
Right.
Because it almost feels like a different universe. It basically is.
It is, but I do love the parts where future Charles goes back in time mentally and talks to
that was cool.
Young. So it's such a good the trailer. I encourage you to watch the first trailer for Days of Future Past. It's always burned in my brain. It's beautiful. I love movie trailers, the good ones, not the bad ones.
It's definitely a really good passing of the torch story.
Absolutely.
So I like that. The Sentinels were interesting. Is that how they normally look?
No, and they look just like big dumb robots.
Well, I've seen that design, but they show the prototypes, and then they show what they look like 100 years from now or whatever. Is that what they originally is that what they turn into, or are they always just a big purple?
I haven't read a lot of Xmen comics, but the original design, that's what they kind of look like essentially. And then in the future, I think they made up their own stuff.
Which is weird because in the third in X3, they're in a simulation and they kill one.
Right.
But the Sentinels aren't really a thing, so it's a little weird.
Right.
And then they come. It's one of those weird inconsistencies. But
a consistent theme in the X-Men movies is the timelines don't quite match up.
Was it Peter Dinklage being like the kind of villain?
He was Senator Kelly again, who died in the first movie, X1. He was Senator Kelly, the guy that melted.
That was him?
That was him, yep.
Why is it Peter Dinklage?
Same character. Yeah, I know. That's it. Timeline's wrong.
And then Stryker is this big hulking mass dude, and he's like...
Yeah. Again, recast.
Yeah. Also, I think I was confused, so I thought I missed a movie, because at the end of the Wolverine, the airport scene with Xavier, Magneto, they don't explain how Xavier comes back. He just says...
Did you see the end credit scene of X3?
maybe not then.
So they bring, I forget who they bring in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what character it is.
Yeah.
I it's been so long since I watched the movie, but the doctor brings in this character, and she looks on the hospital bed, and there's Professor X, and he's like, "Hello, so and so," and so he's still alive.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, the original plan in X3 was Xavier is supposed to come back, where he has a twin brother, and he's supposed to enter the twin brother, and it's Professor X again.
Oh, okay.
That didn't go anywhere.
Oh, because what was it? I don't know where I heard that, because he was basically what he was saying, like my brother was brain dead or something.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
How convenient.
Yes. And so yeah, he was never supposed to stay dead.
Mm.
Movie bombed, critically panned, probably made money, but you know, it killed the franchise. So yeah, Days of Future Past, like you said, it's supposed to retcon. It doesn't retcon the first two, but it retcons the third one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Days of Future Past, it preserves the timeline of X1 and 2, but it does erase the third one, and it actually kind of erases the part where Jean dies.
Yeah. Because Jean comes back, that's right.
Yeah.
And then she's also dating Cyclops again.
Yeah. So Days of Future Past reset everything to the status quo. It kind of gave everybody a happy ending, essentially, because then it's rebooted. So then you get X-Men Apocalypse. It's the young guys. I think there was a missed opportunity to reboot Wolverine to where it wasn't Hugh Jackman.
Sure.
I understand Logan is supposed to give it the closure it needs for the timeline and everything. Like, you know, so they close out the Hugh Jackman Wolverine story arc. But I think there was a missed opportunity to kind of get the ball rolling on a new Wolverine.
Sure.
I think when they rebooted Days of Future Past, perfect ending. Let that universe just play out on its own. You know, they made Logan. We went Hugh Jackman one last time, whatever, right, at the time. Right. But I think Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, they're just a good opportunity to either get away from the Logan character or to recast him. But unfortunately, they don't. So, doesn't matter. Disney bought him shortly after, and they fixed it.
Sure.
So...
Yeah, I'm excited. So basically, because I haven't watched it yet, is basically the new future timeline. Is that completely separate? Like it's no longer going to be what they eventually become. It's like this is separate now.
Yeah, it's pretty separate.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then like the last one was Dark Phoenix, and they're done with this franchise.
Yeah.
Right? Interesting.
We'll get just watch them.
Okay.
I can't tell you much.
I'm glad Logan, and I love how Deadpool Wolverine is like an unofficial sequel to Logan or conclusion. It's
right.
A conclusion. But
it's a companion piece.
Yeah, I guess so.
Are you gonna watch the Deadpool movies?
What?
Are you gonna watch the Deadpool movies
again?
You've seen them before, right?
I've seen them all of them. Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna watch them again.
I probably will.
That's what I'm asking. Will you watch it since you're on the train of I'm getting through these X-Men films?
Yeah, I probably will, and then I'll probably watch Wolverine again.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Really good.
I really enjoyed it.
How do you feel about our most recent surge in subscribers?
It's cool, unpredictable. So it's hard for me to be like, we did this right. What we did, do it again. It's just, again, kind of random.
We can do it again. It's not random. I'll tell you what happened. So I took
I don't know if you're going to tell everyone, but.
No, yeah, there's nothing to hide. Like, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong. Maybe we got 5 minutes left. We can talk about it.
Sure.
So I paid.
A witch.
Yeah. I paid the ghost of YouTube to spin her magic fingers and to give us subscribers. Yeah. So I posted a video called Who Sang It Worst. In the course of 29 minutes, it got 4,500 views, which I thought the video was going to go viral.
Sure.
Because we went up 5 subscribers right out the gate.
Yeah.
To 4.5 thousand views in 29 minutes. And then it stopped. 29 minutes. I was thinking like 4.5 thousand views, you know. I'm going to quit saying that. I'm going to say almost 5,000 views. Almost 5,000 views in less than 30 minutes. I was like, this is our big moment. Then it just stopped. Yeah. And it had like 60 likes. Sure. And I was in 5 subs. Like, if this went viral, I think this would have been a big channel finally. Sure. Yeah. Or something, you know, we've been close to, but it stopped. And I was like, I don't understand YouTube's algorithm. But it was a very popular video. We've only had a couple videos. Now, some videos got higher sub counts on their own, higher view counts on their own, but not a lot of subs. But I was like, this is a very marketable video. So what I did was I used the YouTube promotions tab, and I put $150 to boost the video, and that gives you 2 options. One of them to, do you want more views or do you want more subs? And I was like, well, I want more subs. You know what I mean? So I checked the more subs button, and I want to say the ad's still going, but every midnight it adds however many subs we got, and we're at now we're at like 485. We went up 100 subs in the course of like less than a week. You know, I was like, dude, that's freaking cool. That's freaking crazy. So I did a lot of research beforehand. I'm sure you've looked up stuff too. People were saying YouTube promotions don't work.
Yeah.
And I would be inclined to agree, but what I think I did was I promoted a video that on its own did very well.
Sure.
Instead of picking a random video that there are a couple of clips I think that should have gotten 1 billion views, right? But they got 1 or 2. And I was like, this is really good. I wish it did better. And it didn't, unfortunately. So that's not a video I promoted. I promoted one that did well on its own, and the algorithm already really liked it. For some reason, it stopped at 29 minutes. But I boosted a video that actually like killed it. You know what I mean? And we went up we're up over 120 subs almost. You know what I mean? Because we were at like 368, but now we're at 485. So like 120 subs in a week, and that's crazy. And I can't do that all the time. I can't keep paying $150 every week.
We're still not making any money off of this. So.
No, and another thing too is the sub count doesn't count toward the requirements for monetization. So we actually can't pay to reach the monetization goals. You have to do that kind of naturally. Yeah. So if I paid for 1 million views, it doesn't count toward ad revenue. Is what I've been told. Yeah. So yeah,
I feel like once we get to like 1,000, like most people they won't pass you up if you have like at least 1,000 subscribers.
I agree.
They'll probably give you like a little bit more of a shot. So.
Yeah. So we're still working on the channel trailer. We're just working on some footage, but that's the video I intended on boosting, and I think that's going to do really good. Yeah. I will say like any other shorts that got us a ton of subs and got a ton of views on their own, those are the ones we need to pay to promote. But I think the channel trailer is going to help out quite a bit. Sure. So anytime I have extra cash lying around, like I said, I can't do it every week. Otherwise, I mean, we'd be at 1,000 by now if I could have done that all the time, but I can't. So. But it was kind of cool to watch, and it was very interesting. So the people that complain that YouTube promotions don't work, like I can see why you'd say that. You probably boosted a video that kind of sucked. You know what I mean? Because like I'm not bragging, but I think we have a decent product. We have a good channel, and I've always said that. So yeah, went up 120 subs.
Are you enjoying not having to do so many shorts, or are you wanting to get back into doing as many as you were doing?
I am enjoying the extra free time. I am not enjoying using the long method of not using CapCut.
Oh, okay.
Dude, Premiere, it just takes so much longer, and I lose the will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will say I'm going to show you after. I really don't think CapCut's what's messing up the audio. I'll just show you what I was looking at. But
what you need to do,
yeah,
to really prove that your theory is to do the same short on both CapCut and Premiere, and then like test it out to see if like one's worse than the other.
Well, that's what I was going to show you. I did that. So I was going to have you listen to it and like, hey, if you think it's a big if you think it's that big of a difference,
But
fine.
yeah, so basically we had an agreement where we're like, hey, for like the next 2 weeks or something, we're just going to cut down on the amount of shorts and see what happens. If our growth drops or if it just stays consistent, because it's a lot of work.
It's hard to gauge that because of like paying to boost. We went up 120 subs. So you could be like, hey, I told you,
but I didn't. But I didn't.
But yeah. So what was it? So Electric, did you see that comment he did where he's like, hey, too many shorts? I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah. But at the same time, the data is not really showing that too many shorts is hurting us or helping us.
Sure.
From my perspective, and maybe I'm wrong. Okay. But from my perspective, the 5 shorts that I did this week almost all of them got 400 views.
Sure.
But when I do 15 of them, with the exception of 1 or 2, same thing. They all get about 400 views.
Sure.
Maybe 1 or 2 don't get any. Maybe some of them get 2K. I haven't noticed a difference other than the less videos we put, the less views we've gotten.
Which here's the thing. Even if no difference, I think is still a success. I still think, because like if you were doing, twice as the amount of work and still getting the same amount of progress, or response, then I don't think it's worth it, if that makes sense.
Maybe, but I'm saying like 15, my perspective, 15 videos that get around 400 views is better than 5 videos that get 400 views. You know what I mean?
I guess
that's what I'm saying. I'm not seeing a difference in 5 videos a week get us way more views and way more subs. It's looking like the same either way. But YouTube has always been, and like I said, we'll keep doing it for a couple weeks. I'm not tripping about it. But YouTube has always been post a video. If you get lucky, you get subs and views. That's what it's always been. I haven't seen a difference where we posted too many. The algorithm's messed up. I haven't seen it, and I've been looking. I've been looking.
So I don't think it's an algorithm issue. So the reason I'm like, we should probably cut back a little bit. I don't think it's because of the algorithm issue. Like I don't think one way or the other with that.
Sure.
It's more like I just don't want it to be where. First of all, I hate looking at the video count and it being like over 1,000 videos we have, and it doesn't really feel like that, It's shorts. And sometimes, like, if you're scrolling through all these shorts just to see, like, the same kind of thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And also, it's, like, time. Like, I know how much time that can take up, but I also know that, like, quality can drop if you're having to put up too much, too many. Again, it is a battle of quantity over quality.
I agree with that.
So that's where I'm coming from. It's not the algorithm for me. I think one way or another, if one gets 1 billion views, then like we're good. Like it doesn't really matter if we have 15 of those out there or just one. I think they all get the same amount of exposure, honestly.
Right.
But like you said, like no one really knows how the algorithm works. It's always changing.
Yeah.
But for the part I'm part I'm passionate about is again the quality part, quality over quantity.
I agree.
That's my thing. But if you think like, hey, it's not really like big of a deal, then you can just go back to 15.
Shorts is how we get the comments. It's how we get, you know what I mean? And that's the part I've enjoyed engaging with people. I wouldn't call them our audience yet because, like Electric pointed out, like most of our subs are coming from shorts, and it takes away from people that want to come back and watch the full episode. Like I agree with that, but I was like, from my perspective, though, we're a podcast. We're almost a strictly podcast channel, with the exception of a few editorials I do when I have time, and when we have a permanent spot, I think that'll help me pump out more stuff, that I can do. But for a podcast channel, I think the more people that come in and stop by, just the better, and like the shorts link to the full episode if they want to come in and look, you know what I mean? So that's what I've always thought. Like if we're going to do well, it's going to happen, you know? So, but I understand what you're saying, quantity over quality. I agree with that. My biggest thing is I just don't think I can do Premiere with every time. Even just doing 5, it just drives me freaking crazy. And it's so much easier on CapCut. But I can show you that after and we can talk about it. But so yeah, we're just gonna continue the course, keep doing 5 for the time being. It's definitely a lot less work. It frees up my time. So yeah, I mean, we just YouTube's always just about seeing if you can get lucky. It's never been, I wish there was a do this and it works, do that and it works. Because if it was, we'd be doing that. If the algorithm liked me wearing a giant 10-gallon size hat like Doug Dimmadome, I'd be doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But
I'm just happy to be doing this.
I agree. And
sake of doing it.
You know what though? Like running promotions. That might be how we kind of get some traction going, because posting as many shorts as we do and getting no subs every, sometimes a week, like it's not always working, So I tried doing the VSMR stuff. That didn't really make a difference. I'd put Subway Surfers on. That didn't get us 1 million views like it does some other people. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's just you just gotta hope you get lucky.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like there's no one thing to do. So we'll see. We just got to keep hoping that one day we'll get some traction. I'm told consistency is the best way to go about it.
That is true. I mean, we can tell people that. Like we've experienced that.
Yeah.
Where it felt like we were going to get no one for a while. We were stuck at like 20 or 30, and it just like went overnight. Just
well, that's the thing was like when we started shorts, that's when our sub count went up. So I think shorts is going to be our best bet. You know what I mean? Because like our podcast episodes, it's not our face, it's just the animation. Like, there's nothing visually crazy going on to where people are like, I'm going to keep, you know what I mean? So the shorts is kind of where we're going to draw our base from. And like I said, if they subscribe, that's great. But if they're going to come back, they're going to come back. Or if they're not, they're not. There's no real way to gauge it.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just something we're just trying. We're just trying out different stuff and we're learning, so anyway, it's just fun. We're having fun with it. So I enjoyed putting money and watching the view count go up very high overnight. That was kind of cool. So once the trailer's done, I want to promote that and see how that goes. And I think that's going to go pretty well for us. So the video I boosted, it was kind of like a niche subject, but when we do the trailer, it's going to have a broader appeal, and people can decide like, hey, this is a podcast. This is something I can sub to. And if I sub to it, I might check out their content. I might like it more. I don't know. I just think it'll have a broader appeal. And I think that's going to really help us gain traction too. So it'll actually give people a better feel of what the show's about. So anyway, that's just kind of what I'm thinking. Cool. So yeah. Anything else about it?
Nah.
All right, well, I think that's it for today, guys. Thanks for joining us this week. Hope you enjoyed our discussion on the Xmen franchise, or most of it, Flat Earth, and talk about the future of our channel. Hope you guys enjoyed that. So,
yep. Third wheel Days of Future shorts.
Yeah. There's going to be less of them for a little bit. All right, so we love you guys. We'll see y'all next time. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
Bye-bye.
Farewell.